Have you ever filled your home with plants, only to feel like the energy still isn't right? You water them, you talk to them, you even name them like they're part of the family. But somehow, your space still feels a little too heavy, or too quiet, or like something's not fully flowing the way it should. That's what happened to Michelle Thomas. She's 50, a mom of 2, married for over 20 years. And after spending the last 3 decades raising a family, building a home, she thought bringing in more plants would brighten the vibe. Bring in that good Feng Shui energy, more luck, more calm, maybe even some cash flow. But it didn't feel like that, at least not at first. What Michelle didn't realize is this: not all green is lucky green. Some plants make your energy rise. Others quietly pull it down. And in Feng Shui, it's not just what you grow, it's how the energy moves through it that matters most. So today, we're walking through 7 Feng Shui lucky plants that don't just sit pretty. They actually help grow wealth, energy, and abundance when placed with care. Each one comes with a story, a shift Michelle made after learning how plant energy actually works. Some are simple swaps, some are mindset flips. But every tip is about helping your space feel better, and your life flow better too. And hey, if you're watching this and thinking, yeah, I've got plants, but I still feel kind of stuck, you're not alone. This channel's all about noticing those quiet shifts that change everything. If something in this video makes you smile, makes you breathe a little deeper, or just gives you that tiny nudge to move one plant to a sunnier corner, we'd love to have you stick around. Hit like, subscribe, or leave a comment below. It helps this kind of healing Feng Shui wisdom reach more people, and maybe even someone who needs it today. Michelle's story begins with a plant she thought would bring money in, but it actually held the energy back. Let's start there with the Jade Plant. Sometimes it's not about what you bring in. It's about the energy you expect it to carry, and how your space says, not like this. Michelle always thought the Jade Plant was the money magnet. That's what the internet said. You put one by the door, maybe tie a red ribbon on it, and boom, lucky flow, good cash energy, done deal. She got 2. One for the entry table, one near her work desk. She even picked the fuller ones with thick green leaves. You know, the ones that look like little coins? But after a few weeks, something felt slow. Her husband's bonus got delayed. The bill from her son's dental work came early. She didn't lose money, but nothing seemed to grow either. And her space? It didn't feel bright or flowing. It felt like the air got heavier every time she walked by that jade pot. In Feng Shui, the jade plant is known for attracting wealth. But it only works when the energy around it moves well. Jade plants are earth-heavy, thick, rooted, still. That's great for stability, but not so great when things already feel slow. If the plant sits in a dark corner, or next to clutter, or by a wall that doesn't reflect movement, it actually holds the cash flow back. Not because it's bad, but because it's stuck in its own energy. And when a space feels slow, money doesn't feel invited. Michelle didn't want more things. She wanted more ease, more space in her mind, more room in the budget. A house that felt like it could breathe again. After 20 years of running, raising, surviving, she thought she was adding a money symbol. But her home was asking for a money shift. Not save more, not cut back, but something that invited fresh movement in. She just didn't know the plant she chose was saying, let's hold this here for now, instead of, let's let it flow. It's like expecting a piggy bank to pay your bills. You keep stuffing it with coins, but the energy inside never moves, it just sits there. Michelle's jade plant was her visual piggy bank. Beautiful, symbolic, and completely stuck. It wasn't moving. And neither was her cash flow. Michelle looked it up later. A Feng Shui book said that jade plants are great, but only if they're paired with light, movement, and flow. They need open space nearby, sunlight, and air that circulates. Otherwise, they just hold energy like a sponge that never gets wrung out. It made sense. Earth energy is about holding. What she needed was a way to let things move again. So she made a small switch. She moved the entry jade plant closer to the window, next to a mirror that caught the morning sun. She cleared the clutter around her desk and added a small bowl of coins beside the other jade, a symbol of flow next to a symbol of wealth. Within a month, her husband got the full bonus retroactive. Her daughter got a surprise scholarship for summer camp. The house didn't just feel lighter. It felt like it was breathing with her again. The air felt easier to walk through, like the walls weren't holding their breath anymore. Money started feeling like a conversation again, not a silent stare from the bills. And the best part? Michelle said she caught her son putting a quarter into the coin bowl next to the jade. When she asked why, he said, "Just feeding the plant, so it knows we're ready." Sometimes, kids say the most feng shui things. Money flows where energy moves, and energy moves where you make space for it to feel welcome. Sometimes, energy doesn't block us head-on. It just forgets to come back in. And when life starts feeling one-sided, it's usually because the energy got too used to leaving. After Michelle shifted the jade plants, she noticed her space felt clearer, lighter. But something was still uneven. Like energy left the room easily, but didn't always return. She had a pothos hanging in the kitchen window. It had been there for years. Long vines trailing down the cabinet, some curling toward the floor, others just dangling. It looked beautiful, but the vibe felt empty. Not lonely, just like something wasn't cycling back in. She felt that way too. After cooking, after errands, even after talking to her husband. Like she gave a lot out, but didn't get much back. In Feng Shui, Pothos is known for soft flow. It helps energy move gently, especially in busy areas like kitchens or hallways. But when the plant grows wild, too long, or one-directional, it sends a message. Flow is leaving. And in time, so is your sense of balance. If the energy's always going outward, through a window, down a hallway, or into another room, you lose the feeling of return. And return is where lucky flow lives. Michelle wasn't looking to control everything. She just wanted to feel like she could receive too. To not carry the whole day on her own. To come home and actually feel home. Not like she was walking into the last scene of a sitcom she missed. That Pothos wasn't the problem. But it was a mirror. The vines kept growing in one long direction. And so was her energy. Outward, stretched, tired. What she needed was a gentle reset. Not a break, not a makeover. Just something to remind her that she deserved refilling too. It's like pouring tea for everyone at the table, but forgetting to refill your own cup. The pot still looks full from the outside, but you're the only one not drinking. That's what the Pothos had become. A symbol of quiet overgiving. Michelle read that in Feng Shui, trailing plants near exit points, like doors or windows, can quietly signal energy to leave, especially if they point down, grow too long, or tangle into clutter. But when you prune them gently and guide a few vines back inward, you tell your home, let the energy return. And return brings peace. And peace brings money clarity. She trimmed the pothos, gave it a soft spiral hook to guide some vines back toward the window frame, added a clear quartz near the pot, something to hold energy where it was being lost. Then she lit a small candle after dinner. Just 10 minutes of light, not for mood, but to say, we're staying in, we're settling in. That week, she said her sleep was deeper. Groceries stayed on budget, and a refund check showed up in the mail from an overpaid bill. The space felt more circular, like things could come back full loop instead of floating off. Cash flow felt less like chasing and more like receiving. Her daughter walked in one morning and said, "Mom, did the plant get a haircut?" Michelle smiled and said, "Yeah, I think I did too." Sometimes a little trim is all it takes to let the good stuff return. In Feng Shui, the direction of energy is everything. If it's only going out, there's no room left for wealth to walk back in. Note to self, if your plant's trailing into the next room, maybe so is your patience. If this made you look at your pothos a little differently, or your own energy patterns, we'd love to hear what you're changing. Every like, comment, or subscribe helps us build a home for quiet energy wisdom and reminds YouTube this kind of content matters. Sometimes we bring symbols into our space, but forget to give them direction. And when something with strong energy just sits still, so does the part of life we're trying to move forward. Michelle had a small vase of lucky bamboo right on the kitchen island. 3 stalks, neatly tied with red ribbon, placed in a shallow glass bowl with river stones. It looked peaceful, clean, balanced, but something about it felt too still. The money conversations in the house stayed in loops. Her husband's side hustle never quite started. And the family's big, "we'll finally take that trip" plan kept getting postponed for one more thing. It wasn't bad luck, but the momentum just never arrived. It felt like the bamboo pretty quiet and kind of just there. In Feng Shui, lucky bamboo is a powerful symbol. It represents growth, direction, structure, and future wealth. But like all structured things, it needs purpose. You can't just drop it in a bowl and expect flow. If the stalks aren't upright, or if they're stuck in a bowl that never gets cleaned, or if they sit in the center of clutter, they signal energy without clarity. And energy without clarity, it just spins in place. No direction, no luck, no wealth flow. Just nice-looking stillness. Michelle didn't need more energy. She needed the right kind. She wanted money to start moving forward, not just circle the bills. She wanted new plans that didn't die in the group chat. She wanted to feel like the effort she gave out really had a line, a path to come back in, with interest. The bamboo should have been her anchor. Instead, it became one more neutral item in the room. Nothing wrong, nothing working. She needed it to stop sitting still and start doing what bamboo does best: grow with direction. It's like owning a treadmill and never turning it on. Sure, it's technically good for you, but if it just sits there, folded up in the corner, you're not going anywhere. That bamboo became Michelle's Feng Shui treadmill. Symbolic, quiet, unused. Michelle read that lucky bamboo needs movement support. Not literal motion, but energetic flow around it. That means upright placement, strong water care, and open visibility. If it's crammed behind clutter, on a closed-off shelf, or under dust, it becomes stagnant. Feng Shui says it should face a direction, like a tiny compass for growth. Face it toward the room's wealth wall or near a rising light source. Even a small upward light can activate the bamboo's yang flow. Because bamboo isn't about rest. It's about quiet drive. Michelle got a ceramic pot with clean lines, one with a narrow base, so the stalks had to stand tall. She tied them with fresh red string, cleaned the pebbles, added 3 coins under the water. Then she placed it facing the southeast corner, the Feng Shui direction of wealth. She put it right where sunlight hit each morning. No clutter, no distractions. 2 weeks later, her husband finally launched the Etsy store they'd talked about for 18 months. Her son sold 3 of his paintings at the school art fair. The energy felt pointed, not spread thin. The space felt like it had a compass again, not just a collection of calm. Wealth didn't rush in, but it stopped circling. It had somewhere to land. Michelle caught her daughter rearranging the bamboo one morning. She wasn't messing with the pot. She was turning the tallest stalk slightly. Just one tiny angle change. When asked what she was doing, the daughter answered, "Just helping the lucky part look in the right direction. Even good luck needs a path." In Feng Shui, energy grows where clarity lives. Turns out, Michelle had structure all along. She just forgot to aim it. Not every heavy energy comes from mess. Sometimes, it's the quiet feelings we never sorted out that keep floating in the air like steam that forgot how to lift. Michelle had a peace lily in the hallway between her bedroom and the laundry room. It was part of a gift basket she received last year. After her aunt passed, she didn't move it much, didn't water it often, but it stayed alive somehow. The leaves were always a little droopy. The air in that hallway felt heavier than the rest of the house. Like something was hanging. Not scary, just stuck. Like a feeling that didn't finish. That part of the house never had a clear feeling. Not relaxed, not busy, not bright. It was a pass-through space. And that lily had become a quiet placeholder for energy Michelle hadn't fully let go of. In Feng Shui, peace lilies are great for emotional clearing. They absorb stagnant energy, especially the kind tied to grief, regret, or unspoken stress. But here's the thing. If the plant's energy is tied to a moment that never processed, it starts holding more than it clears. That hallway had no real light, no air circulation. And the lily? It was holding sadness like a sponge that never got rinsed. Instead of clearing the emotion, it became the thing keeping it in. In Feng Shui, this blocks lucky flow. It slows the current between heart and home. And when emotional energy gets stuck, so does your ability to receive wealth, joy, or clarity. Michelle had spent a lot of time being strong. For her kids, for her parents, for friends. She didn't cry much after her aunt died. Didn't slow down. She just kept moving. But grief doesn't care if you keep going. It finds places to live. That hallway became one of them. And the peace lily, a symbol of softness, became a quiet mirror for all the feelings she didn't want to sit with. There wasn't anything broken. Just nothing healing either. She wanted her house to support her, not hold emotions hostage. It's like having an unopened letter sitting on your nightstand for a year. You know what's in it, but you don't read it. And it just sits there, taking up space in your brain every time you walk by. That peace lily became Michelle's unopened letter. Quiet, polite, but holding weight. Michelle read that peace lilies absorb airborne toxins, but emotionally, they also represent spiritual reset. In Feng Shui, they're placed where energy needs to lift, especially after emotional transitions. But to work, they need air, movement, intention. If they sit in still corners tied to still feelings, they become emotional storage instead of energetic filters. That's not a bad thing, but it's not healing either. To get energy and money moving again, you have to reset where the emotion lives. Michelle didn't throw the plant out. She repotted it, gave it fresh soil in a soft white ceramic pot. She placed it near the bathroom window, where it could get some morning light. Then she wrote her aunt's name on a tiny paper, folded it, and placed it under a small rose quartz by the plant. Not to hold the grief, but to bless the release. That hallway? She put a small diffuser there with lavender and citrus. A shift in scent. A soft nudge toward peace. A week later, she caught herself humming while folding towels. It had been a long time. The air felt like it had exhaled, like it stopped waiting for her to cry. Sometimes, letting go clears more than grief. It clears the way for calm. And calm is where new wealth grows. One morning, her son was heading to school and passed by the old hallway. He looked up, sniffed the air, and said, "It doesn't feel weird there anymore." Michelle didn't answer. She just smiled and refolded a towel that didn't need it. In Feng Shui, healing doesn't always mean adding more. Sometimes, it just means making space for peace to return. Apparently, even plants need emotional support. Good thing this one finally got some sunlight therapy. A boundary only works if the energy around it knows it's real. And when protection turns passive, your space starts absorbing hits it was never meant to hold. Michelle had a tall snake plant tucked behind the entry shoe bench. It had always been there, next to a coat pile, a few bags, and sometimes half a laundry basket waiting to go in. The plant was stiff, upright, classic look, but the leaves had started leaning, just slightly, like they were tired of standing guard. That corner always felt tense. The family would rush through it, shoes kicked, keys dropped, energy dumped and forgotten. And that snake plant? The one meant to block chaos, filter noise, and hold the line, had turned into the invisible shield that everyone forgot was even there. In Feng Shui, the snake plant is known as a guardian plant. It protects, it grounds, it holds strong vertical energy. It's the quiet no that stops chaotic flow from rushing in. But when it's placed in clutter, near sharp corners, or left in low energy zones, its protection becomes drained instead of activated. And in Michelle's case, the snake plant wasn't filtering chaos. It was soaking in all of it. In Feng Shui, that turns a strong flow into a silent leak. Money energy gets scattered. Boundaries feel blurred. Cash plans lose focus. And lucky flow slips out the side door. Michelle wasn't just tired. She was tired of not knowing why she was tired. Of feeling like the house worked, but she didn't. She gave her family space, held everything together, kept the schedule, paid the bills, did the right things. But somewhere in that routine, she stopped having space for herself. The snake plant wasn't dying, but it wasn't standing proud either. It had absorbed every drop of dropped energy from everyone who passed by, and none of it was hers. She needed a boundary that stood up, not one that bent quietly. It's like being the doormat in a house, and also the rug that's supposed to keep things clean. You can't be walked on and be expected to absorb everything and still look good doing it. That's what the snake plant had become, a doormat with roots. Michelle learned that snake plants thrive in bright, upright, clutter-free zones. They need air, space, and strong positioning. They're energy guardians, but only when treated like one. In Feng Shui, they're best near doors, corners, and transitions, but never behind piles or chaos. They anchor energy when they're allowed to stand in full view, as a silent enough to whatever's out of balance. Resetting that one plant's placement can shift the feel of the entire entry zone. And when your entrance feels protected, money knows it's walking into safe territory. Michelle cleared the bench, moved the snake plant to the right side of the entry, away from the dump zone, gave it a pedestal stand, so it stood 2 inches taller than eye level, wiped the leaves down, tied a soft black thread around the base. Not for decoration, but for grounding. She added a tiny obsidian crystal under the pot, then opened the door for a minute. Let fresh air come through. Just enough to say, this space is guarded now. That night, nobody dropped their stuff by the door. It wasn't a rule. It just didn't feel right anymore. The front of the house stopped feeling rushed. It felt like someone was finally standing there saying, "Not this time." Cash didn't just feel safer. It felt like it had a place to land, without being questioned. Her husband walked past and muttered, "Did the plant grow overnight?" Michelle didn't answer, but she looked at it. Strong, tall, no longer hiding, and thought, maybe I did too. In Feng Shui, when you raise your energy boundary, you raise your wealth permission. Turns out, the plant wasn't tired. It was just done babysitting everyone's mess. Joy is an energy. And when you hide joy in a corner, you're also telling wealth it's not welcome at the table. Michelle had a tiny citrus tree in a pot by the kitchen door. It was something she picked up last spring from a farmer's market. A little burst of green with a few yellow fruits that looked like sunshine. But somewhere between groceries, meal preps, and everyday life, the plant got pushed farther back, past the recycling bin, behind a foldable chair no one ever used. By the time summer came again, she barely noticed it. The leaves dulled, the little fruits stopped coming in, and the space near the door, it felt dimmer, like the joy had moved out. She didn't feel unhappy, but the vibe was muted, like her home had gone from laughing out loud to whispering politely. In Feng Shui, citrus trees represent abundance, joy, family wealth, and the kind of prosperity that doesn't just stay in the bank. It fills the room. But citrus energy only thrives when it's visible, celebrated, and shared. If it's hidden behind clutter or wedged into low-energy zones, it can't activate the lucky flow it's meant to bring. Joy needs to be witnessed to grow. And when joy hides, money flow gets awkward too. Not blocked, just unsure where to land. Michelle had been in function mode for a long time. Groceries, budgets, schedules. Everything got done. But not everything felt alive. She didn't need a new system. She needed small moments that spark. The citrus tree had been that, a little pop of color, scent, and movement. A reminder that life wasn't just lists. But when she stopped seeing it, she also stopped seeing the part of her that needed to feel the light back. Feng Shui doesn't just ask, "Where's the money?" It asks, "Where's the joy you forgot you deserved?" It's like buying a cake and never lighting the candles. The sweetness is there, but the celebration never arrives. That citrus tree became Michelle's quiet cake. Plenty of potential, no spark. Michelle learned that citrus trees love light, fresh air, and space to breathe. In Feng Shui, they represent active joy and receiving energy. But to work, they need engagement. Watered regularly, placed where people pass often, where they can be seen and appreciated. They're best in kitchens, dining rooms, or sunny entry areas. Even one orange or lemon growing can symbolize incoming cash and shared wealth. When you celebrate them, they help celebrate you. Michelle cleared out the space near the back door, moved the citrus tree front and center by the window. She added a bright woven mat under it. Something cheerful, not expensive. Watered the soil, cleaned the leaves. She even placed a small gold bell charm near the base. Just for fun. That evening, while cooking dinner, the light hit the leaves just right. The whole kitchen glowed. The next weekend, her daughter baked muffins and offered some to the neighbors for no reason. Michelle laughed, not because it was funny, because it felt open again. The space felt like a Sunday morning light, easy, full of why not? Cash energy doesn't just follow focus. Sometimes it follows the sound of a room that's smiling again. Later that week, Michelle found a tiny green bud on the tree. It looked like a new lemon was on the way. It wasn't big, but it was loud enough to be noticed. And that's the whole point. In Feng Shui, wealth grows where joy is visible. And joy grows where light says, "There you are." Turns out, even plants don't like being the background character. When energy builds up too much, it doesn't explode. It fogs. And when the mind is foggy, lucky flow gets lost in the mist. Michelle kept a small pot of lavender on her bedroom windowsill. It was meant to help her sleep, to calm the night, to signal the end of the day, but lately it felt like her thoughts didn't rest. Even when the house was quiet, her mind kept sorting, planning, looping. The lavender was there, but the air still felt full, like the energy had too many tabs open, and no browser was closing. Sleep came, but not deeply. Morning started, but not clearly. The room wasn't loud, it was crowded, with all the things she hadn't mentally filed away. In Feng Shui, lavender is a reset plant. It's for clearing mental fog, calming nervous flow, and making space for clarity. But it only works when used intentionally. And when paired with motion, scent in air, not just sitting still. Lavender that stays in stale corners, with closed windows and no scent diffusion, becomes symbolic instead of active. And symbolic doesn't move energy. Without that lift, your space starts recycling stress, not releasing it. And when that happens, money thoughts become pressure, not vision. Cash energy gets noisy, but doesn't go anywhere helpful. It just hums behind the curtain. Michelle wasn't burnt out. She was mentally full, and that's sometimes harder to notice. She needed space not just to rest, but to stop narrating everything in her own head. She needed one space, just one, where no lists followed her, where her breath got the final word, where her energy didn't feel like it owed anyone clarity. The lavender wasn't failing. It just hadn't been activated. And her nervous system? It was waiting for a signal that peace was actually allowed here. It's like having noise-canceling headphones, but never turning them on. You hold them, you carry them, but your brain's still listening to everything anyway. That's what her lavender had become. A silent tool with the volume turned off. Michelle learned that lavender needs air to work. It's the release of scent that calms the system, not just the look. In Feng Shui, it should be near a window that opens, or near a fan or diffuser. Something that spreads the calm into the room. It can also be dried and tied with string near a bed, or placed with amethyst or moonstone to amplify sleep and dream clarity. Lavender clears headspace. And when your mental energy is clean, your ability to receive wealth, flow, money, insight, and emotional alignment returns. Michelle opened the window one morning and placed the lavender where the breeze could touch it. She added a small diffuser nearby with pure lavender oil, tucked a calming stone under her pillow, and lit a candle for 15 minutes before bed, not for mood, but to mark the end of mental noise for the day. She didn't sleep more hours. She just slept. Fully. Woke up with a quiet mind. A stretch instead of a sigh. Coffee tasted better. Emails didn't feel personal. The air felt like it wasn't asking for anything. It just let her be. Cash energy follows mental space, and her space finally had room for it to land, without stepping over the to-do list. That weekend, her husband noticed she wasn't reaching for her phone first thing. She just stood by the window, eyes closed, breathing. He didn't ask why, but her daughter walked in, looked at the lavender, and whispered, "The plant looks happy today." And maybe, just maybe, so did Michelle. In Feng Shui, the clearest wealth comes from the quietest mind. Turns out, even lavender needs a little air circulation to do its job. Don't we all? Funny how plants don't say a word, but somehow they speak for the space. And when your home listens, it starts shifting one corner, one pot, one quiet reset at a time. This week wasn't about gardening. It was about relearning how energy grows. How money sometimes hides behind a droopy stalk. How wealth can stall when joy sits in the shadows. How even lucky flow waits for you to notice where it got left behind. If any part of this felt like your home, thank you for being here. Every time you breathe a little deeper after a story, you're already practicing Feng Shui that works. We'll see you in the next video, where we keep making space for better energy, for easier cash flow, for the kind of wealth that feels like you belong in it. Your space speaks. Wisdom listens.